Today is the first day of peak week, and that means that every single one of your sponsors wants to reach you at the same time because they know that you look awesome and you won't look like this for a very long period of time. So today we're at Bells of Steel and we're going to be doing a giveaway. This is the video. If you want to see the full thing or if you want to enter the giveaway, all you have to do is go to the Instagram and do it there. It's very versatile handles to get, but we're going to start this peak week series by doing a set of posing to see where the body's at. And the only next time that I will be doing this will be the day before the show. And then, well, for the next part of this video, I think this is something that really needed to happen, and I'm really glad I did this before the show. It's something that's been mentioned quite a bit in the comment section, and it was having a conversation with someone who has been through this before and who would have a much better insight on what it takes to heal from something like this. Now, I had the opportunity to talk with a double crown IFBB pro, Sarah Jessica Taylor. She is a wellness competitor, and not only is she double crown IFBB, she's actually a natural competitor, so you can only imagine the mental strain that happens there. So we had an hour-and-a-half long conversation, actually. I might just end up posting the whole thing one day, but I'm gonna show you what I think are the most important clips of what ended up happening during that call. So one important subject that we aborted was just relationships in general while doing something like this, the cost of sacrifice and the justification of paying it or not. And one very important thing that people often struggle with, which is just learning to apologize.
I think the last thing I would just say on relationships in prep or other big goals, you know, maybe people watching this are not competitors, but you have a big goal to start a business or X, Y, or Z, right? It's going to require you to be all in. Like, you can't do anything like this half-assed. So, you know, it comes at a cost. Absolutely. You have to understand if you are willing to cost justify the price of entry towards the thing that is your greatness, right? So that's something you have to have an honest conversation with yourself. And you have to own your shit. You know, there was definitely times, I think it was actually the day before my show, I asked my husband to come into the bedroom and before I went to bed, and I apologized to him because I didn't like my tone of voice. I had been snappy, and I said, I don't want to go to bed the night before my show and feel like there's anything between us. Like, the way that I spoke to you wasn't appropriate. And I'm sorry, like, I just want to acknowledge that. And he was like, I don't care. Like, you've said so many things to me that are way worse. But it's just acknowledging that, you know, my behavior in that moment wasn't appropriate and I saw it, right? Because so many times I think competitors, you know, natural, unnatural, people seem to, you see this in the gym, unfortunately, a lot, is like, well, I'm important. I'm doing something. I'm depleted. What do you know about this? You know, I'm hungry and I have this attitude, right? And it's like, okay, yes, but it's still not appropriate, right? Like, just because you are starving and just because, like, this is a choice that you made and this other person is along for the ride. So at very minimal, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to say shit. You're going to do shit. Please just learn to apologize. Please just learn to acknowledge your behavior and just say, hey, it's not okay, right? It's not, it'll happen again for sure. But if you can have that communication that you are at least aware of this not being okay, man, it can go a long way in relationships.
And then she asked about different meditation practices, if I had any real coping mechanisms throughout all this. And the one thing that nobody is really ready for when doing this type of change, which is facing themselves.
Like, I don't know if you have a meditation practice. Everybody has their own relationship with how they tap into presence and awareness, but whatever method you have, really leaning into, I need to double down.
I feel as though my coping mechanism has been not great in terms of that. And it's like, I'll get into this like weird mindset where I just tell myself, like, I have more to give. And that's definitely led to the occasional crying on the treadmill for an hour. Just like as I'm sure most people that have competed have experienced at least once, right?
Yes. Honestly, like I don't trust you if you've never been on a stair. For me, it's a stairmaster or treadmill, and you've never had that moment where you're just like in tears and you're like this shaggy, disheveled mess, and like people are looking at you like you are absolutely out to
You're just
lunch.
like, don't fucking
That's
look at
like
me.
to me, that's like you've made it. You're one of us. Congratulations. Welcome to the club.
Oh God.
Because there is, I mean, that's one of the things that you don't expect, that no one really preps you for when you make a decision to get on stage in whatever capacity you do. Is like, of course, everyone starts with the gym, right? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to dial in my nutrition. And usually people just talk about those too. And then there's, performance enhancing drugs, PED use, which is for the majority of people who step on stage, that is a path that they take, right? So it's a 1, 2, 3 buckets, but nobody ever talks about like the mental, emotional commitment, the roller coaster that you go through, the identity shift and change that is necessary for you to let go of the person who was frankly not capable of doing any of this before, and then becomes that person.
This part was really good. We aborted the topic of the identity change required when experiencing any sort of weight loss or just big life direction change.
You must feel like a completely different person as your identity, right? And in some ways, it absolutely required, I think we spoke on that, for you to destroy, some parts of you and to
Parts.
literally let those go
My
forever.
entire self. They're like what I like to say a lot
Yeah.
is like, and like people don't get it online, and I don't expect them to, but it's like me now would not hang out with Simon last year today. You know what I mean?
I get that. I
Yeah.
get that.
And
You have
like
compassion for him?
to a certain
How do
extent.
you how do you relate to your former self?
I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, do I place blame on myself, or do I blame, or do I place blame on like the capitalistic system where you have like companies shelling billions of dollars on ads, force feeding us foods that nobody should be eating. Like, there's like, I don't put blame on anything, or anybody that's obese for that matter. Like, I'll never put blame on somebody because I was there for 20 something years. It's more of a like, okay, then what can we do to make you stop making excuses, and like what can we do so you stop sabotaging yourself? Because at the end of the day, that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you have to fight to stay that fat. You have to
Yes.
keep making those bad decisions to stay that unhealthy, and that's exactly where I was. Like, at the
I
core of
think
it, YouTube is always going to be the main plan, regardless of what happens after this. It's just a matter of, am I going to get a boost to my platform via the sponsors in the summer shredding, or am I just going to have to absolutely grind this out, which I'm also ready for because I love the process. And here she kind of dropped a big truth bomb on me and the importance of having intrinsic metrics of happiness.
what I'm trying to highlight there is, the outcome is not, it's just going to be a reflection of what you already have inside. Right. So you're going to feel happy, but then, if you're doing this and you're driving to like, to prove something or to get that praise or whatever it is, like it will feel empty.
Now, this part of the conversation was absolutely fantastic, and this is when she talked about the importance of aligning your actions with your goals and what happens when that's just not in sync.
You need to have, and it sounds like you do already, but a lot of people, let's be honest, a lot of people watching this don't have. A lot of people watching this YouTube, I'm sorry, you can shoot me up in the comments, but it's fact. Like, you are in a position that you are in, whether that's good or bad, because of your habits and behavior, right? And a lot of us, the reason we hate ourselves, the reasons that we self-sabotage is because we go to bed at night and our actions are not aligned with with our goals. Your actions are not aligned with your goals. So you are out of integrity with yourself. And if you don't have integrity with yourself, you don't like yourself. Right. And that is as simple as it is going to be. That is a hard truth. And the only path to like self-love and self-acceptance and all this ooey gooey stuff is not fucking bubble baths and oh my God, you're so great. It's showing up and getting uncomfortable and doing the discipline of the shit you said you were going to do and saying like, this is important to me. So I'm going to do it today. And I suck at it and I'm a beginner and I'm going to fumble and it's humiliating and I'm going to be embarrassed, but you're going to be embarrassed in front of who? Yourself. Right? Like if you can't face that, then I can't easily have a conversation with you, because that's not something that I can own. It's not something I can coach you. It's not something, that anybody can do for you. At the end of the day, all of this self-acceptance comes down to living as the person you say you want to be.
And then one thing a lot of people were actually scared for me for in the comment section was that winning was my entire identity and that I would just crumble if I didn't win. Or I guess the real reason why I was actually scared of not performing. At first I was like, I was attributing like my entire identity to winning. And then it's like, but I think that to be very transparent, my biggest fear was just like, it was losing out on the sponsors, like, or losing the sponsors that I had currently, like, especially like, well, Transcend has done such amazing things for me. And that was like, oh, if I don't win, I'm not like validated, or I'm not like special enough to be with them. But then like, I had to get reassured like 15 different times from my rep there, like, dude, I don't give a if you win or not. Like, you've already done more, like, enough. And then something happened recently that really fucked with me. It was so a video came out with Will Tennyson. Video is amazing. It was a fantastic video. The editing on it, masterful. The problem is people weren't ready for the extreme that I was taking. And again, I can't blame them for that. It's like, how do you explain to a normal person what it takes to actually push yourself to your own limits when they've never stepped out of their own comfort zone? Like,
they call you crazy.
Like you can't. So this is the end of day 1 of peak week. Bit of a loaded one emotionally. I really want to keep going through what's going to be going through my head and through my stomach, essentially going through this next part. Tomorrow we cook, the next day we fly, and then it's game day in Texas. We'll see you tomorrow.